Hello. I'm making a video in the garden. It is a wonderful day. The sun has already moved up over there to that tree over there and all the way across the land, shining onto the rolling hills that are all the way over there. But the sun was in the garden earlier. The sun was over there earlier. But I didn't get to sit down in the sun because this container is always wet on the top from night dew and rain. So I have to always go and towel it dry before I can sit on it. That's what I did now. But by the time I got this ready, the sun has already moved, so I didn't get enough sun exposure. So I like to get sun exposure. In the summertime, the sun is here much longer for several hours. But in the winter time, the sun is only here until I don't know, maybe it's only here for 2 hours, from 11 to 1 or something. And that's okay. So it is winter now. And there's the pinkish white veil here on the side there because of that camera guard, but I tried to adjust it. I didn't get it to adjust correctly. So once these things stick onto it, I think you can't even pry it up anymore. It's like super glue or something. But whatever, that doesn't matter at all. I don't mind having that on the side there. It's alright. So it is kind of artistic, actually. But it's nice in the garden. It's nice. It's relatively warm. Relatively. I have to wear a jacket, of course, but it's nice. And sometimes when I get up, I come out here with bare feet and I stand on the lawn with bare feet to get grounded for a while. When the grass is very wet, I do that. And that's very refreshing for the feet and for your whole system to do that. After sleeping, you get up in the morning or at noon, which we do. We get up at noon. And then I come out here and I put my bare feet, not always, but sometimes I put my bare feet on the grass and it feels really good. And when the grass is dry, when the grass is not wet from rain and dew, then I lie down on the grass and I look up into the sky. I look up into this English laurel, and at night I look into the Milky Way galaxy, and I look at the star formations, and I see all these beautiful sparkling stars. And last night I came out here, looked into the sky, and I thanked the blue God for these beautiful moments. There are these beautiful, wonderful moments, and they don't have to only be moments, We can make them longer, those moments. We don't have to rush back onto the internet or rush back into the kitchen and follow our addictions and so on. I can almost write a poem about it. It almost rhymes. So now we can stay out here in a very confined backyard with a laundry rack and all of that, but you don't have to look at all of the whatever rubble and chaos and laundry rags. I don't mind the laundry rag. I think it's a good laundry rag. So I don't like laundry lines. I don't like that, particularly not when they're tethered onto a live tree, so which the people before us did. And it was real difficult to talk Paul into taking that off. So the tree had suffered, and I finally got mad and I said, I'm not going to let the tree suffer any longer. So I took that off. That laundry line spanned from 2 live plants, and then we got into ladder racks. These are ladders, and they're also laundry racks, so they're very versatile and very, very sturdy and very practical. They fold up. You can put them into a closet when you don't use it, but they fold up, and then they fold up 2 arms like that. And the ones I have are like, they have a different shape. They're more like the shape of a dog, and so I'm gonna get that from the other house because the washer broke, and so we're bringing all of the laundry racks from the other house now to this house, and I don't know where to accommodate all of this, but Paul has 2 in his bedroom. Then he sometimes puts another one into the living room. I already have one in the living room on the side, so it's like it takes up all the space, and we've already taken up enormous space. Like half of the living room is already Tupper containers. I've already shown this. So we have limited space at this place here, at this old house from 1930, like a one family, father, mother, son and daughter, sort of, Actually, it's just 2 bedrooms, so the 2 children would have to share one bedroom, and they probably did. The families in the past that have lived here. And when we first came here, there was suffering in this house, tremendous suffering through all kinds of things. But we lifted the spirit, literally, we made the atmosphere nice, and the spirits that were here, the ghosts that were here, they found some peace, and then they left. So they leave when they find peace, and they thank you for that. So it's very important to encounter whatever entity we encounter that our ego is afraid of, or our inner child is afraid of, So whatever entities, and by entities I mean either non-physical, that means in the ether, that means ghosts, or in the physical realm, in the 3D, in form of your body, a live body, a live tree, a live animal, a live human, or a very live robot, like my computer here. This computer is alive. I can feel it. When I touch it, I feel it. Some rocks, so I don't think I've ever found a rock that was not vibrating on some kind of frequency, on an alive frequency. So the rocks I touch, even this brick there, even this cement slab under my feet is vibrating. Everything is vibrating with some form of, even this here, this buckle, the fake fur, Always fake fur, okay. Never animal skins. Okay. Fake leather. There are amazing products out there, okay. So they are much better products. They last much longer, and they are maintenance free, okay. So never use animal material, animal skins, or not even the animal hair, animal wool, okay, not even that. So I didn't know all of these things in the very past, but I informed myself about it. Even the wool industry is very cruel. They castrate the sheep without anesthesia. They ship them. They have mass breeding facilities in Newfoundland of sheep, and they ship them in cramped in conditions where they can't even move, cramped in with hundreds and hundreds of other sheep. They trample on each other, they bite each other, they bleed, they trample each other to death on the way across the oceans in freight boats, and they ship them to the Middle East, where they use them for animal sacrifices. And all of this needs to be banned, okay? You cannot be part of this anymore. Don't be part of that. Don't be part in any way whatsoever in any of these horrible things. So I met a real amazing person. Her name is Helena, and she is from Estonia, and she considers herself to be a mystic traveler, a monk, a world traveler, and she is completely bird-free and fear-free. No fear. I have so much fear, I could never do that. So, and it's okay. She told me it's okay, we need to listen to our inner feelings, of course, we need to always regard our inner fears and emotions, and we can't be skipping certain intermediate steps in our healing journey. So I am not there yet for a very, very long time. I could not do it. We have lived in a motorhome for 3 years. Samantha, our former dog, Great Dane mix, Paul and I. We lived in a motorhome for 3 years, and it was very difficult. It was more than difficult. It was rough. It rained into the motorhome, and he didn't get that fixed right away. It took him many attempts until he finally found a place where he was able to fix the roof. We got the Henry's roofing cement and poured it on. So we found a real nice refuge, a bird sanctuary, where there are actually other homeless people that have set up some kind of camp, and here and there sporadically. It's not crowded, not like Slab City, so I can't say where it is, but because that's the area where we also settled here. And both of our places, both of our properties are like one on each side of that amazing bird sanctuary. So in a distance of about 40 miles from each other. And we always go back and forth. We're in the process of selling the one in Oregon. So yeah, we've been through a lot, and it was very rough being in the motorhome. So we got to see what it's like to drive onto any kind of place where there are snobbish people and they give you the cold stare, and they want you off that property. They don't even want you parking on their parking lot. And they're cold, and they're rude. And in some places, like for example out there, Santa Cruz, I mean, that really took the cake. That Santa Cruz, the winner of arrogance and coldness. And you know what's amazing about that? The people that are there, they think they are so spiritual. I thought that was a hilarious contradiction. I mean, that really, if that doesn't tell us something about the psychology of the arrogant human, the last human, according to Friedrich Nietzsche, then I don't know what. So that was interesting, to say the least. The so spiritual people, the so intellectual, educated people in Santa Cruz, we are so woke here. Oh, we are so spiritual. But hey, if we see a homeless van or motorhome, we honk, because we don't want those there. We don't want them homeless people there. No. But we're spiritual. Yeah, that's how it goes. Okay. But they would never admit that in the first place. I'm just making this up. So, no, they would. Those people are, but I can read their faces, and I can read their energies, so I can approximately read what they're thinking when I meet them. And not all of them are bad, of course. This is not a generalization, but it just seemed very interesting from my observations. So, and so I in order for me to say the majority of them, I would actually have to do a field survey for a psychological master's degree dissertation field survey in Santa Cruz in order to find out if the majority of them are like that, what I'm saying. So I don't know the majority. I have the feeling the majority is like that. But there are always exceptions. But the exceptions, those are the ones that are not boasting with spirituality. Okay, for sure. So, and then we went. We had some wild experiences, but I'm not gonna get into this. So, some bad encounters with the loggers, which I really have a problem with. So, but in San Francisco, near San Francisco, we parked at a Walmart store, and a real nice, wonderful, angel soul, good Samaritan, wonderful woman, compassionate woman, was going there from motorhome to motorhome to hand out freshly baked loaves of bread that she made herself, whole food vegan. I could not believe it. What? And so there weren't that many homeless people there, which was lucky for us. She came to us, and I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed, and I said, we're not homeless. But we were, because at that time I was very ashamed. And so just goes to show how difficult it is, how it messes with the mind. And when you're homeless in a van, it really humbles you down totally. But it was an important soul school experience for me. And I could observe myself as I said that. my inner voice was like, what the what the F, you know? What did you just say there? What is that? Is that the ego? Hello, ego. You know, ego doesn't want to admit we are homeless, baby. Yes. It doesn't matter, you know, we sold a house for 569,000, probably the richest homeless people, as Kenny Pollock said to us. But that still doesn't change the fact that people look at us cold, most of them, and they shy away from us. They don't even want to talk to you, you know. But it's probably good, because those are probably the ones you don't want to make friends with, right? You want to make friends with the good Samaritan lady that hands out loaves of bread, you know. The Sterntaler, angel soul, like in the fairy tale, the Sterntaler gives everything away to homeless animals until she has no more clothes on, and she lies there in the forest, and then she is being rewarded with a lot of stars. But that's an illusion, because these stars are really her transition back into the Orion Nebula. And so this transitional moment, you know, seeing a lot of glitter and stars, because the brain isn't functioning anymore. The brain goes into hypothermia, and then the body goes numb and unconscious, okay? And then the vital signs stop, and the soul is, oh, I'm rewarded. No, with all the stars are my glitter now, are my coins. They're all. That's really what the meaning of that fairy tale is. You know, she goes into the infinite, to the Orion Nebula, to the Horsehead Nebula, and all the stars are hers. Now she has everything, all the reward for her kindness, for her goodness. And that fairy tale makes me cry, of course, but I don't want to cry right now. But, you know, that is the ultimate self-sacrifice for others, okay? There was a man, his name was George Price. He was a psychologist, and he did his last experiment in his lifetime, right? I don't know if that was the only experiment. That was definitely his last. And so he followed right into the footsteps of Sterntaler. And that was in England, where it's like really cold. And he too gave everything away. Everything. Until he had nothing. He was under a bridge, naked. And he died. So that was the experiment. Some people do that. So I don't recommend it. That's not the altruism that I'm talking about. So if we wanna have the maximum return in terms of altruism and love and kindness and giving, we have to stay alive. Yes, we can't go with someone who will put us into a human trafficking of whatever, human organ harvesting or sex trafficking or whatever, bordel incarceration for sadistic people, like, I don't know, I'm not going to mention names now because I don't know for sure, but I have my suspicions. So George Soros, question mark, right? I'm not going to say the other names because I don't want to get sued. So I'm just asking, is George Soros a sadistic person who says, give me a 12-year-old from the Midwest and then we do whatever we want with her? I don't know. I leave that question open for people to find out for themselves if they want to take the chance and risk their lives to do an undercover investigation into this. I certainly don't. I'm not interested. Okay, so I'm not that much into self-sacrifice. I love my body, and we should all love our bodies and our health. There were things I wanted to talk about. Last night when I went to bed, I was thinking about it, how when I go to bed and I lie down, I've eaten some pies with white sugar in it for about 2 or 3 days until I said again that this is it, I can't do it. I saw the immediate results of what it does to my brain. When I eat white sugar, I have a real hard time falling asleep and I have extra anxiety. So I can't do it. I just simply can't do it. No matter how addicted I am to all of that stuff, I can't do it. So I have quit white sugar, chocolate, white flour, fried food, all animal products, all meat, and all fish, and that's probably hard for Philip Jones, but it's too difficult for you to quit fish. I see that in the chat. But whatever. But that's still better than eating cows and pigs. Okay, so don't ever eat cows and pigs anymore. Okay, you become that. Okay, you are what you eat. So not good. It's unethical. It's horror. Absolute horror show is that. Don't do it anymore. But the fish have nervous systems too. Okay? Not that developed, but they still suffer. And still cruel. And the whales need the fish. Okay, so and any of these fish farms, they have parasites. It's all horrible, terrible, is that. So, and the salmon in the rivers, they need to have their full lifetime, the entire full lifespan. They swim upstream and there they spawn and then they die, and the bears can go there and get them very easily. They just take them out because the salmon are already dead at some point, and the bears eat them, and they need to eat them. Okay, so if there are fisher people that catch the salmon before they get up the stream into the natural habitats where bears live, then they're taking the food away from the bears. Okay, all of this is horrible, and we can't do it. So this amazing woman I met, Helena, she talked about this also, that she doesn't want to be part of any of these exploitation rings, all of these. The entire human infrastructure is really just a legal form of exploitation. That's what it is. And I don't want to be part of that either. So I do my best that I can to not be part of it. The amazing fashion designer Vivienne Westwood talked about this all the time. Here she obviously has a fashion line and all of this, but what she did is she got recycled materials. She got different recycled yarns and birds in the tree, nice. Hello, beautiful. Oh, beautiful, yes. Sometimes the birds come right up to me and they're not afraid because they sense that I love them. So animals sense, wild animals sense that you love them. So Vivienne, there's all these thoughts that go through my mind. Vivienne Westwood always said, you need to buy something that you really like, and then don't buy anymore. Don't buy so much. Or just have a collection of good stuff, treat it well, and like really wear it until it gets holes, and then you can stuff the holes. That's what I do, with our stuff. So we can't afford to buy more and more and more items. We need to use what we have. We need to repair it. We need to fix it, and that is easy on the budget, and it also steps out of that consumerism, that mass consumerism that is happening. And Vivienne Westwood got some kind of like a praise from the Queen, Madame Vivienne Westwood, a noble reward, or ordain, I don't know what they call it. It's like a badge, whatever, badge of honor from the Queen for being a noble person. And Paul McCartney got that too. So because they are both, Vivienne Westwood and Paul McCartney are what are you doing now? This is really taking me out of my train of thought now. So they are both animal rights activists. Paul McCartney is still alive. Vivienne died last year in December. Yeah, go ahead. Be careful, okay? Careful. And she was old, a few years younger than my mother, but still quite old, in her late 80s, I believe. So, and her lovely boyfriend, Prince Charming, that she called him, Andreas Kronthaler, he took over Vivienne Westwood house, of fashion house, and they are very recycling oriented. So they have also gone to different countries and gotten recycled fabrics in massive amount, and then they have made things out of it, and they have also recycled the fabrics into yarn, and they have also gotten ocean yarn from ocean debris, recycled plastic yarn from ocean debris. All of this is amazing. All of that helps the earth and brings awareness also. It's very important, all of that. So, yeah, I don't want to be part of this. The infrastructure and the madness of indoctrination and consumerism. I don't want to be part of that either. So I make scarves out of fabric rests, I make my own sweaters out of fabric rests, out of baby blankets. I make amazing sweaters. You can't even buy them in the store because they are perfect, particularly because they are very, very long. They come over the hips. And I like sweaters that come over the hips, that keep my hips warm. So this is very nice to have that. But I thought about when I went to bed, and then I got sidetracked again with the sugar issue. So So I finally quit the sugar again, and now I fall asleep faster because of that. And then after a while, being off sugar, I fall asleep very quickly. So, and I'm going to stick with that now. I can't eat any of these things as much as I crave it. And now having commercial, I had to disable my ad blocker because they made me, which is really bad. Now I have to see chocolate commercials on YouTube, and I think that's absolutely wrong. So, but those are the better commercials. So I don't even want to talk about the other ones. Ugh. The kind of commercials that are out there are so incredibly bad that I can't even say these words without having an OCD cringing experience, where I feel like gagging and throwing up. Like words that we should never even hear in our lives. Okay, we need to create our lives in a positive way. We need to have, the words we need to hear are empowerment, that Jeremy Fragrance talks about this all the time. He is amazing. He never talks about negative stuff. Okay? Empowerment, baby, he says, like this here with the biceps and your power fist. Okay, like this. Power, empowerment, whichever way you want to turn this. Power, baby. Okay, now that's how we need to talk to ourselves and to our loved ones and to the sky. We need to open our arms to the sky, and we need to say thank you, blue God, for giving me this unique opportunity to be in this body. I know it's not easy. I cry a lot, right? And sometimes I complain. But it's not easy, but this is an opportunity to grow, expand, learn, soul school, healing for the soul and the body, both, okay? I have a hair there. I always have some hairs that are falling off. So, yeah, but I'm good for my hair. I'm good with my hair. I put lotion into my hair. It's very, very good for the hair. My hair is brittle because it has been bleached. But lotion that's the key. Put lots of lotion into the hair all the time. So, yeah. So, last night, or every night, I go to bed, and even when I'm off sugar, so for the first couple of minutes, hopefully without the sugar, I fall asleep after a few minutes, and I really do, but with the sugar, it takes me hours. So that's the difference. Very important to say that. But last night I was lying in bed. I wasn't lying awake for too long, so I'm grateful for that. But every night I go to bed, I have my whole life review after life review, like someone who has a near-death experience. I have that while I'm alive. So I have life reviews every day, sometimes during the day, but almost every night I have a life review, or two or three even. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, try to fall asleep, then have another life review. So, and then I have to say I am infinitely sorry that I was ignorant. I'm infinitely sorry for the way I have behaved. And that's what I do. Because I've made a lot of mistakes. But there's one thing I didn't do wrong. I refused to put a baby into this world. Okay, so I stepped out of that cycle of suffering. And even when I was a complete chaotic punk at age 19, I said, no, I'm not part of that cycle of suffering. I'm not going to continue to. So I had abortions, okay? And that's a good thing. Okay? That's very good. My mother was already getting mad at me. She said, oh no, don't do that to me when I was pregnant. Don't bring me a baby and another baby that's gonna suffer. And so we were both on the same page with that. But it was still mean of her to say that to me, because she was recklessly insensitive with me. I mean, recklessly, from day one. That's just that was her personality, but not just the personality. It was her pain. She was in pain. Okay. So I understand all of this now. I can see it from the blue god perspective, and she's with the blue god now, and everything is good. She can see everything now the way it really is. But when we come into existence, if we haven't done a lot of life experience, soul school in a harsh situation like planet Earth, then obviously we have to come back, and then we forget what we have learned before, what we've already seen from the Orion Nebula perspective. So, and I guess because when we're in the physical, most people don't remember what they have already seen in the beyond. And I guess it's also part of that soul school experience to not come into this existence and already know everything, and know where the pitfalls are and where the dangers are, and where our own emotional, mental traps are located, because then we would bypass all of that, and then we would probably bypass our soul school, and so then we would not do the learning and growing. But maybe some people will have that experience just as another experience. What is it like if I come into existence and know all of that already? So there are many, many different experience forms, and this lifetime that I'm living here is very difficult, very painful, and very sad, and very, very gruesome also psychologically. But we need to still thank the blue god for this amazing body, skin, hair, and long back, and big feet, and big nose that sticks out, and I'm grateful for that, deeply grateful for that. I wished other people would be grateful for that too. I see so many other women that are complaining about their noses, and their noses they never feel like the nose is just the right politically correct shape. Sad. That is sad. I see their before and after photos, and I go, baby, why? You looked so much better before. Like, why do you do this to yourself? My goodness. You need to love yourself just the way you come into this existence. Okay? Don't measure yourself on some other jerk in Hollywood or... It's so incredibly annoying. I don't even know what to say. So, no, you need to love yourself the way you are. Very, 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 very infinitely important. And I do. I had my moments in the past where I had BDD, body dysmorphic disorder. I've been through all of that. Trust me, I've been through it. Hardcore. Okay, when I was 13, it's even terrible to say it. I don't even want to say it, but I have to, in order to explain to people what that's like. When I was 13, I thought I was too tall because the other girls were shorter. Most other girls were shorter, and I thought I was too tall. So I wanted to take it on myself and cut a piece out of my legs, out of the ankle area. So I also thought my ankle area was kind of weak, and I felt ashamed about it. Today I love all of that. I love it. A lot of people think this is good. So the fashion industry, they like kind of bony, sort of narrow ankle legs in women. So I always thought it looks terrible. So I still wish to reincarnate in a body where the legs are like tree trunks. I know a lot of women that hate that. I see it on the internet. They hate that. I've seen it also in the past when we were teenagers. The other girls would conceal that. So the grass seems greener on the other lawn, right? The other one always wants what the other has, and vice versa. Skin color wise, hair color wise, eye colors, so on. I've seen already. There was a girl from Finland, a couple from Finland, white blonde hair and almost total albino, with light blue eyes. They come to the center in LA. Boyfriend, this sounds really, I don't like talking about it, but I have to. Boyfriend liked me, I think. At that time I had like really dark brown hair, my natural hair color, and dark brown eyes with some dark green. And he liked me. So next time I come to the center, his girlfriend, they had broken up, and the girlfriend had colored her hair dark brown, and she put dark brown contact lenses in. And she gained weight. Was she trying to look like me? I felt I didn't even want to know. I didn't even ask. I looked at her with infinite love. I smiled at her with infinite compassion, because I know what that's like, being the other, wanting the other. So, and I was shaking my head in disbelief over this, but not to her. I was just at home. I was shaking my head in disbelief. I was like, how in the world does she reject her albino blonde hair and light blue eyes? Why? And then I see, so this is also taking over in the Scandinavian countries, with the refugee women coming in that have black hair and black eyes. And then the Swedish and Scandinavian women, the Finnish women, Estonian women, suddenly coloring their hair black or dark brown. And they do it for wokeism, they do it to fit in, they do it out of peer pressure, and there's also the element of jealousy, because maybe they think the other ones get more love or whatever goes through their heads. Also has a lot to do with psychological pain from childhood, when the mother did a lot of mistakes. Mother wasn't there enough, didn't love her enough. Maybe she had a sister or brother who was younger, and then she saw the baby was getting more attention, which is usually the case, but the little girl takes that into her own blame, and blames herself, and thinks, oh, the little brother is loved more because he has dark curly brown hair. No, that's not why. It's because he is now the next born, the second born, the baby. You are 4 or 5 years old or 3, and there is a new baby. And so the new baby always gets more attention. They shouldn't, but that's what happens a lot. And that's a trauma. And we grow up with that, and then we think, oh, it must be because of some kind of physical thing, right? In the case with my brother is, so he had dark brown curls because we all obviously share very similar DNA. So I couldn't blame it on him being blonde because he wasn't. But I blamed it on him having these very thick hair. I have finer hair. I thought finer hair is bad, which is actually not the case. Finer hair is female. The females have fine hair. So, and I thought my hair was flimsy, but it's just female hair, you know. So my brother has thicker male hair. And I didn't understand any of this. Even in my 20s, I didn't understand this. So a lot of those things. But when I was 13, I wanted to cut a piece out of my legs and then sew it back together. I had obsessive thoughts like this. This is how insane I used to be. I mean, I'm really insane. And a lot of people think I'm still insane, right? But no, I am now healing. I am much more sane than I used to be. I'm yet much more sane than in the past, particularly going through all of this suffering. Okay, I'm much more sane than most people struggling with all kinds of peer pressure and mental illness and people that are violent. Okay? That they are not sane. Those are the ones that are calling me insane. Those are not sane. When people are violent, that's not sanity. That is insanity. Okay, very important to understand this. So, and that's a worse insanity, is violent behavior. That is the worst mental illness there is. Okay? That's a fact. People need to understand this. So, but when I was lying awake in bed last night, I was thinking about a friend that I had in primotherapy. Her name was Jana Lynn, a beautiful, angelic-looking woman, a hippie, and very much on the healing path, very, very rigorous on trying to quit all the bad substances and getting on the right track and all of that. And she also had a long-term boyfriend, Christoph. And I saw them on the internet. I saw them in a holistic healing video on Reiki couple healing. And there they were, Jana and Christoph, participating in this Reiki couple healing. And I was wondering, I left comments underneath, but these people, obviously, they don't know who I'm talking about, so I don't know who put this video up, but it was a couple of years later that my good friend Elsa from France, who was very close friends with Jana and longer term friends with her, and always visiting her back and forth, going to France and then coming back visiting her and staying with her for a while, and Jana was visiting Elsa also. So they were very close friends. And Elsa told me that, because I asked her, how's everyone doing? Do you have still contact to these people? And how is Jana doing? And Elsa said that Jana committed suicide a couple of years ago. So must have been just a few years after they made this Reiki video. I saw that Reiki video around 2008 or 2009, and she probably a few years later left this planet. Okay, and that made me infinitely sad. And I keep thinking about this off and on, keep thinking about Jana. And she had this amazing boyfriend, Christophe from France, and they were very close. And Christophe was even there in the house when that happened. It must have been a horror for Christophe, absolute horror. I feel so infinitely sorry for him, because they really loved each other. And then I think back and I think about how many mistakes I have made and the way I conducted myself out of ignorance, out of my own pain. But here's what happens with someone like Jana. I guess, I don't know, she probably didn't get the exact right help. Probably didn't, I know that Christophe was really there for her. I know that for sure. That's not his fault at all. Okay. But primal therapy had collapsed. And that's because Arjanov had retired and let other people continue that program. And that's when people died. That's when several people died. And I'm not going to throw blame at anyone, but it is just a tragic situation. There wasn't the supervision anymore that was necessary for people, particularly for people that had severe trauma, like Jana and myself and Elsa also. We had severe trauma, and Leslie too. So for people like us, but Leslie had already been doing the primal therapy process much longer than we had, and had already been healing a large chunk of that. So we were still very, very young at that time, Jana and Elsa and I. And also Kirsten. Kirsten was the youngest at that time. So Kirsten was 15. I was 26, and Jana was 4 years older than me. Yeah, 30. And Elsa 3 years younger than me. So we were very young at that time, and we had horrific trauma in our childhood with child abuse and all of that, and sexual abuse, and the breach of trust and all of these kind of things. And each one was acting out in a different way, and I don't blame anyone. We have our coping mechanisms and so on, but we're all very compassionate people. So that's our base mental state, is having compassion. So that's what matters the most. That's very, very important. But when Arjanov retired just a few years later, when we were still young and needed this supervision, we needed the strong leadership of Arjanov, making sure that people weren't acting out, that therapists weren't acting out, that they were on track with their own mental healing and so on. Because you can't you can't take the client out of a therapist, because the therapist is also a client at the same time, and always will be, always is in any therapy. But most people seem to not understand that worldwide. So, but in primal therapy, we understand it. We see it very clearly that if you are a therapist, that just means you've done some healing on yourself, and you see things with more clarity, and you can help someone really. But that doesn't mean that you are now on some kind of pedestal, or you've reached some kind of plateau, because you never do. You will continue to do the healing and the growing, and the crying comes back. Maybe the crying will be more fanned out, and more distance in between each crying days, right? So there'll be not as much crying happening anymore as time goes on and you do more healing on yourself. But the work never ends, so we always have to continue to walk that path of healing and crying and being honest and all of that. So that is definitely the fact that Artjanov retired after just a few years when we were still young. That was very unfortunate for a lot of us, and for me too. I mean, I didn't die, but I could have, So, I mean, I was right at the threshold many, many times. Also acting out and taking risks and meeting a boyfriend that I didn't even know on a dating site. All of these things that are very dangerous. But I know the Blue God protected me. So some people want to leave earlier. That's their part, that's their soul school. But in the case of Jana, she told me what happened to her as a baby and little girl. Her mother was psychotic. Her mother was a mother like the mother of David Peltzer. I don't know if you're familiar with the books by David Peltzer. David Peltzer wrote, his first book was called A Child Called It. And that is his journey from childhood to becoming an adult. His survival story, surviving a monstrous mother that was psychotic and schizophrenic and cluster B, extremely violent and extremely sadistic and abusive to him as a child. And yet he survived it. And I think that his brain is also different, so he must have obviously different brain anatomy that he was able to not be broken by that, which is it's very rare when that happens, very rare. But for most of us, Jana and Kirsten and Elsa and myself, we're not like David Peltzer's brain. We were very vulnerable. We were very, very fragile children, fragile brains, fragile psychology. Okay. And when we have a mother that is abusive in some ways, or other adults that are abusive, then we break from that, okay? People usually break from that. So I think that the trauma with her mother, she wasn't able to process this, to heal this, and in the end, it broke her. Okay. She thought she couldn't go on anymore. Okay. And I'm infinitely sorry for you, for that life, for that suffering. And I've done a lot of mistakes also in communication with her. I was also jealous of her. She got the most attention because she had, and here again, the physical things, curly, light blonde hair, and pretty face, and like not awkward, not crazy eyes like I had. Like crazy eyes. Where by the way, where do these crazy eyes come from? I see that sometimes. Where do crazy eyes come from? Crazy eyes are, and I've see it sometimes on the internet, and I don't know if I've ever had really, I had not that crazy eyes as I sometimes see with people where the eyes are like wide open like this. But I have had crazy eye expressions, for sure. And that's always an expression of what's happening in the brain. Okay, so that has to do with unprocessed mental illness and childhood trauma, for sure. Okay, and it has to do with anger. Okay, a lot of anger and the anger comes from frustration and from pain that's not being allowed to flow out. So through tears or talks or conversations and so on. That's why conversations are vitally important for us. Vitally important. And that's why it's so important that we say how we feel. And sometimes we don't even know how we feel. We're so in this elbow movement of plowing our way through life that we're actually in denial. We don't even know that we're in pain. I can go on and on for 10 hours straight about this subject, but it's getting cold and it's already over an hour now. But this is a very, very infinitely important subject that I'm addressing here. Okay. So, but we often don't know, and when I was jealous and was jealous about Jana getting all the attention, and there were other women, of course, I was jealous of, and jealousy is the painful theme, from childhood, obviously. It's a childhood trauma, and the more we process this, the more we heal this and flow that out, the more consciously aware we become. And next time we find ourselves in a situation, we have that inner voice that says, what the heck are you doing there? What are you saying there? And how are you acting? I can see myself, okay? So I am the observer that is observing myself, the observed. So we're always the observer and the observed at the same time. We can never take the observed out of the observer. And it is good, and that's the process. That's to know thyself. It's very, very important that we do this. We have to learn about our own minds and bodies and needs and so on. It's infinitely important. That's so infinitely important that in a situation where I meet other people, where we're all herd animals. We all need others. We can't become recluses. That's just an escape, and I'm doing it. This is not good, but at least I am very openly, freely, and abundantly communicating with other people on the internet. So at least I'm doing that. But I should also do that in person. I don't know how, but I have big plans for the future. I want to make friends in person. I want to create a therapy help center for people. For that, I have to be among other people. So I have to meet people, and my OCD doesn't permit it at this point. But that's because it's my mental illness. I still haven't processed and resolved all of that pain. So that still has to be resolved. I'm working on that all the time. So this is just a phase where I'm kind of reclusively hiding with Paw and Baby Dog. So, and I've been doing this now for a very long time. I've been doing this ever since we have bought a property again after we have been in the motorhome. So that's when I have not in the beginning, when we first bought this property here. In the beginning, in the first couple of years, I had physical friends here. Another artist lady and some other people that we even met once a week. It was my initiative. Let's meet once a week in the park. We had a specific place there where we brought Kenny, our baby albino Great Dane, and he was still a baby at that time and totally crazy, and I couldn't manage with him. He was like rambunctious and jumping up and down on everyone, hitting his toenails into people's mouths and stuff like that. So yeah, we met and we talked, and there were even emotions coming up. This all started to happen on its own. It's very organic, that process. And that was very good. So I thought this was a very good process. But then it didn't last. So that went on for maybe a year or maybe a year and a half or something like this. So we met once a week in the park. That was already great. It's like the precursor to therapy help centers. But then it didn't stay like this. People moved and people didn't want to go there anymore, and weather was bad, and so different things happened or people didn't get along with each other. So something like this should really be in a very secured setting with therapists and so on, so that people are not getting away with act outs, and that when we have a group therapy session, for example, that someone can't just come in there and start insulting someone. So there'll be a therapist who will say, insults are not okay. In primal therapy, they call it dumping. If the dumping is not okay, that's an act out. You need to go into your own mind. You have to focus and zoom in on your own issues, on your own pain. What is it that is going on in your head that makes you want to dump or insult someone else? Okay, so what is it? Focus on that. That's where the pain is. That's where the attention should be, in my own mind. What's happening? Why am I feeling this way? Why did I say this or that? So zoom in on my own mental illness and on my own emotions. Where do these emotions come from? Okay, so we don't stay with it in psychoanalytical talk form. We allow ourselves to go viscerally into the emotions. We allow ourselves to go into it physically and feel it. Well, how does it feel like? Beyond words, How does it feel like? And I feel it. I cry it out. I cry. And in primal therapy, if we are open and we can flow this out, we can also go into childhood. We can also go into what Arjanov called first line of mental illness, pain, of trauma. And that's pre-birth and half a year post-birth. So that's that time span, when we're absolutely most vulnerable and totally to the mercy of the elements of the mother's womb, of the poisons, of stress in the mother, of stress after birth, and or abandonment after birth. That is when we are the absolute most vulnerable. And that's why I am such a strong advocate for never leaving a baby alone. You know, when you have a newborn animal or human baby, keep that baby in your arm at all times. Or take turns with someone else who is also a kind-hearted person who will take care of the baby and you while you cooking or whatever. But you know, with a newborn baby, they sleep while you are doing yoga exercises. I mean, they sleep while you are walking. You can go on a hike. They sleep on your chest, so or on the back in a carrier. So, and that is the most important thing, you know, that we have the infant with us at all times. But again, last night, just want to wrap this video up now. As I always say, I'm infinitely sorry. I say it in German, I say it in English, depending on the memory also, you know, when it's something from way in the past in Germany, I say, es tut mir so unendlich leid für euch. And when it's later in English, I am so infinitely sorry that I was ignorant, that I didn't know better, that I stepped on someone's feelings or this or that, you know. So, or mistakes I have made of different sorts, you know, so that are haunting me, that are painful. And that's why I'm against that the term for forgiveness, because if I forgive myself, then I just move on and make the same mistakes. So I cannot forgive myself, but I can understand myself, and I can say, you didn't know better, you know, you didn't know better. I love myself. I didn't know better at that time. And Suma Qinghai talks about this as well. She said, you didn't know better, but you learn, and then you know better, and then you don't make the same mistake again. You know? Don't repeat the same mistake. Don't let yourself get off the hook and say, yeah, or I make excuses or something. No, don't make excuses. There are no excuses. Okay, I can say I didn't know better. I understand now, but that's not an excuse to get off the hook. To forgive. You know, I let myself forgive and. Forgive myself, forgive someone else, and then I make the same mistake, you make the same mistake. No, we have to learn from our mistakes. We have no other choice. Okay, so that doesn't mean we have to beat ourselves up or be in a grind or something about it, in a perpetual grind and beating ourselves up and self-flagellating and so on. No. Quite the opposite. We need to understand ourselves better. We need to cry out this sorry feeling. I feel infinitely sorry. I can cry also how sorry I feel with the tears and say I feel infinitely sorry. I didn't see you as a whole. I didn't see the situation. I didn't see your circumstance. I didn't see how you were feeling exactly. Maybe the other person also acted out or didn't know how they actually felt, right? So we step on each other's toes this way. So that's why this learning process is so important, that we understand ourselves, how we feel. So then we are even only able, after we do all of this, we are able to say to the other person, hey, what you just said there, that hurt my feelings, you know. And we couldn't even do this in the past, so the other person is completely blind, you know. So, and then they don't know where your boundaries are, right? And they step into your boundaries, but you've never expressed those boundaries because you didn't even know where your boundaries are. So you don't know your boundaries, you don't know the other person's boundaries. So this healing process is learning about our boundaries, about the other person's boundaries, about the animal's boundaries. Okay, Paul has a lot to learn in that respect. So yeah, it's not easy, but whether Paul works on himself or not, that's not my business. That is not my concern. My concern is that I work on myself. I have to walk that path of healing, of reforming. okay? Then I can also help other people more. Then I can help make the world a better place, okay? And if every single person gets on that healing path, if everyone says, oh, I'm going into my own mind, I'm going into meditation, I'm not going to let myself get off the hook, I'm not going to forgive myself for this or that, you know, I didn't know better, but I'm not going to let myself get away with it and repeat the same mistakes. I'm going to say I'm infinitely sorry to you for how I have behaved, okay? I should have been more honest, but I didn't even know how to be. I was like, when we're in a state of denial, for example, we're in a fog, we don't even know that we're basically lying to ourselves and others. So all of this first of all has to come to the surface so that we can all look at it. We shouldn't be afraid. Okay, this is very, very important information that I'm giving. I know that my haters are the most afraid of all of this. That's because you probably have the most severe trauma from all of us. Okay? You've been the most traumatized. Also with Islam. Islam is a brutal child abuse. That's what that is. It is so abusive. It doesn't allow you to be you at all. It chops you into pieces psychologically. And then how can you heal this if everyone around you is in that same mental fog and the same pain? Okay. So that's why it takes people to come out of these loops, out of these destructive psychological loops that we have, and be the ones that are doing the healing path, doing the healing work, and be the role models for others, to be, I don't even mean role model, or particularly not guru. What I mean is be the one who has been there. Be the one who has gone through it so that you can be that messenger for other people, okay? And that's the only way we move forward. So, peace and love for all living beings.